Hello and welcome. This is the second episode in this talk series that I'm doing. In the first episode, we had a great guest by the name of my sibling Matthew. We got to know him a little bit and talk about some interesting things. In this next episode, we're going to be talking mainly about a feature film of mine that is currently in pre-production. The film is titled To the Bone in Carnation. Now, before we launch into that, which we'll be doing very soon, let's take a second and talk about the first episode of the talk series a bit. You may have noticed that while we explored some rather weighty topics, there seemed to be a bit of an air of silliness that was kind of working as an undercurrent through a lot of the episode. Don't worry, in this episode we're going to get down to some brass tacks. I wouldn't do that to you twice in a row. Well, maybe just a little. So let's talk about this film. The first thing I want to emphasize about this film is that it's going to be shot primarily in the nature of the Pacific Northwest. This is for a couple reasons. One is that it is the setting the story takes place in. All right, so that's pretty simple. It's also because I have an extra appreciation for films that are shot in nature, and I have for as long as I can remember, especially when the filmmakers do it well. It can make for a really beautiful film. And the thing about the Pacific Northwest is that nature out here is vibrant, majestic, powerful. It's got a certain mystery in it, I think, and it's different from nature in other places. I mean, if you're from the Pacific Northwest and you see a picture of a forest, a lot of times you'll be able to tell if that was one around the PNW or somewhere else entirely. I mean, there are things you notice after a while. It's got its own flavor. And it's a bit of a cliche, but nature, it really is like a character in the story in this film. It's very present. It's always there for the vast majority of the film. But another theme that is a little more specific in this film is the story or the theme in the story about kind of what you'd call spectacle or sensationalism versus the idea of quietude. That kind of we kind of touched on these themes in the first episode, just in the conversation of it. But lo and behold, that was actually a theme for this film, and yes, that was intentional. If you would like to contribute to the fund to help see this film get made, I've included a link to the crowdfunder campaign, which to be honest, it hasn't gotten a lot of attention so far. Kind of been holding off on really pushing that until I can get some more promo materials for it. But it's there. It's able to accept contributions. Contributions of all forms are greatly appreciated. And they will help this project remain afloat and eventually get made. So they are important as well, and I would encourage you to contribute if you feel so inclined. Thank you. Now, back to this theme of spectacle versus quietude. Um, when there's going to be some voice notes that talk about this a little in the second half of this episode, and I use sensationalism, that word, which is, as I understand it, it's mostly used in reference to certain types of journalism. So I can just clear that up right now. When I say sensationalism, I just mean things that intend to or just are able to induce sensation in the body. So I'm using it in a very universal sense. Maybe the better word would have been sensationalistic, but I don't, it seems like a minor difference. Yeah, but that's the English language for you. So that now that I've made that correction, let's move on to the section about the crowdfunder campaign a bit. Why is it important that people contribute to this project? Well, it's important because it's important that people contribute resources to the arts in general so that it may flourish as an aspect of life, as a source of beauty in our society. We are grateful for all of the art of the past, aren't we? Aren't we grateful for all the paintings and the films and the literature and the music, right? So we got to put resources towards that in every generation to keep it going. We want the beautiful things like that to flourish, don't we? But why is it important that people contribute to this specific piece of art, which is a film? Well, for many reasons. One being that I believe this project has a vast amount of potential as a film. This story is strong, the characters are rich, and the plot and the techniques used in the film, I believe, will make it unique and a valuable addition to the entire canon, and specifically to the list of feature films that have been shot in Washington State. I just want to say, to make it clear, this film has been in over 2 years of the process of conception and writing of the screenplay and envisioning of each scene. So it's been evolving for a while. I've kind of poured myself into this thing. How I would describe it, the story, and how it will turn out when it's shot. It's provocative, it's interesting, it's fun, it's got some sensuality in there. It's a little confusing, but it's really beautiful and engaging as a whole. And that's kind of what it has become in my mind. It's substantial. This isn't just a let's go make something in the woods kind of thing. There are a lot of concepts and themes and mechanisms that have been kind of weaved into this thing, and I think it's a great story. It's kind of a wild ride. It's it's engaging, and if it's done well, it could look really nice. But let me just before we get too far into themes and stuff, let me just take a second to say what this episode is kind of touching on. I will be talking about the film quite a bit, but also just things in general, kind of like the previous episode. This is talk series by the after all, so it's not really in a film pitch form. It's just if you're interested in the film and maybe want to know more about it as a potential contributor or just somebody who thinks it's interesting, this is a good episode to listen to. But it's not really an official film pitch format. I might be doing one of those soon as a separate thing. Now, one of the reasons that I'm doing this talk series, you call it a podcast or whatever, doesn't really matter, is that it's it's a way to bring attention to the film project that I'm making, trying to get everything in place for that, all the resources and all the pre-production stuff. But it's also kind of an outlet because, you know, writing films so far for me has been really enjoyable in the process, but it's the lack of opportunities so far has been disappointing. So it's hard to really get, you know, because you have to acquire a budget, figure out ways to do that, and there are multiple ways, but you know they don't always come out the way you thought. So there's always this kind in filmmaking. There's always this kind of waiting, anticipation between the envisioning and the writing of the project and actually being able and getting to make the film. And it's kind of for I guess it might be specific to myself, but it's kind of frustrating in a lot of ways. Um, so it's interesting to try to do something like this, which is more just off the cuff. It's a little planned. I mean, there are outlines and stuff. I might be taking a page from one of my favorite comedic individuals by the name of Tim Heidecker. He's always done some interesting stuff in that realm, always going all the way back to his earliest stuff in animation. But he started a podcast, I don't know, 5, 7, 8 years ago. And he also still does his creative stuff and acting and that kind of stuff. In addition to that, so he had that kind of he had the outlet where it was more free flowing a little bit. He wasn't playing characters as much, and he also continues to do all his creative stuff as his latest, his most long-lasting and continuing show is On Cinema. Check that out if you like a little bit of the absurdist comedy. What was the point here? Yeah, the point is that it's interesting to look for those different ways that you can get creative outlets. Some projects like film, they're often it takes a while. It's like a steady build, and sometimes it all just hits. But you know, you've got to just keep plodding away in terms of a film because that's what you have to do in the conception and the script and everything. And things just happen eventually. And sometimes they happen really quickly, which is nice. But in general, it's nice to have these other kind of things that you can just kind of try to experiment with. That doesn't take months and years of planning and solicitations and yada yada yada. So that's one of the reasons. There are multiple reasons why I'm doing this talk series thing. But I think that's the thought for now. Thank you very much. In this section, um, this is just a collection of voice notes that go into the film a little more, the themes of it, and talks about some stuff in general. Um, so here they are. Other note about the word sensationalism. A further note is that there's an implication in the word, taking it in its most universal sense. There's an implication uh, of the body in sensation. The body, sensation is things that you feel, and so this idea of using that in a film, in the story, is it's kind of an exploration of what you can do with that if you play with that idea. There are things in films, there are tropes and mechanisms that are used that can produce some type of sensation in the body, depending on the individual sensitivity of whichever viewer is experiencing that film or watching it. So this idea, like horror films. You think horror films, and the sensation is often the kind of a cringe at the gore or the violence, even though they know it's fake in their head. It still produces that effect. Like if it's well done. Like I don't know, you're watching that Alejandra, what's his name? High Tension. With the staircase and the desk. Oh boy, that see, and that's sensation. That's sensationalism. Oh shit. But then there are different kinds of sensationalism, because then you think like Wild Things with Matt Dillon, Denise Richards, Nev Campbell. That's a different kind of sensationalism. And I say, well, are there any? Is there any different kinds of sensation producing mechanisms used in film? And then there are. I think it might be kind of a reach, but there there are scenes in films that have just this intensity of the circumstance and the emotion, and they also produce that kind of effect in the body. It's like the thriller thing, like it's like, yeah, the tension. That is like a bodily thing that you feel. I mean, I think of like the scene in the film Network, the big powerful conversation with the owner, or whatever it was, over the dimly lit huge office conference room. Um, so it's that kind of intensity, and they can do that in different ways. So yeah, like the the stuff that's like right there, like the pulpy stuff, is always an interesting technique to use. The this is in regards to how I might try to communicate some of the larger themes of this film to people that I benefit of talking to about it. One of the interesting themes is the idea of sensationalism versus sort of quietude, and how they seem like they are opposite ends of a spectrum, like they're opposites. But the idea that it might not be binary. If you're looking at life that way, sensationalism versus quietude, I mean, that it most likely is not one or the other, binary as in what's better, but it's what kind of blend of both those things that you find that you enjoy in life. So there's sensationalism. It kind of has a negative connotation, of course, right? You think about that like news that's almost purposely or exaggeratedly shocking or something like that to try to get attention. But if you think about the word itself, sensationalism, it's really just an emphasis on sensation, versus almost like the ideal Buddhist monk would live as quietude in peaceful contemplation, which so that works for some people, I guess. But I think the vast majority of us, we find sensationalism, a certain amount of it, whether it be through entertainment, movies, sports, whatever, media, literature, art, whatever else, events, concerts, like there's you can consider a lot of things that are part of modern life to be sensationalism, or at least sensationalistic to some degree. And so the fact that we all kind of search out for those that degree of, and the certain types of sensationalism that we prefer, it's an interesting concept. And is it just what does that mean? Where do we what do we do with that insight, if it is even an insight? The word basic and the connotation that it has kind of subsumed in recent years. It's kind of has a negative connotation as being kind of plain, plain Jane, basic, and it's kind of just in at least what would you call it? In a certain context, it can be used that way, but it's still just a word that basically means universal. I mean, basic is like the boilerplate. It's the template that you build upon. And the thing is that we all have things that are basic about us, and also we have more complex parts of us, but those extend into more specific areas in most cases, right? I mean, we might have a basic appreciation or understanding for, I don't know, a certain sport or something, but maybe this same person is an incredible mechanic, or he knows very complex ideas about how cars work and planes and stuff like that. So that's one example of somebody basic in some ways and complex in others, which I think probably is true for almost every individual person here, because of course, to varying degrees and intensities and spectrums for every individual. Everyone's unique, but there are always things about us some things that are more basic, and other areas that are more complex. So it's interesting to think about it that way. That's kind of like that's almost like the basic way to think about it, because it's taken all the kind of the structural or beliefs and value judgments and everything, and just looking at everything in a very like bare bones ways. Aspects of an individual that are basic, and other aspects that are more complex, depending on what they've kind of developed, with the areas that they've developed in themselves, and a lot of times that could be even physical. Maybe they're just like they they enjoy the pursuit of perfection in their physical self, and that's great too. Everyone's trying to figure their thing out, figure out what brings them the most meaning and excitement and joy and everything else, options of freedom. And anyways, so that was just a note, just a thought. Thought it should be recorded for some reason. Maybe some people might provoke some thought. Sensationalism. So it's interesting. Earlier, when I was talking about this, I said that everybody kind of finds specific types and forms and degrees of sensationalism that they are drawn to, such as media or sports, or even kind of physical interactions, or whatever. You can consider a lot of things sensationalism. But then I was thinking, well, what about like an accomplished college football coach or something, and he had made the game of football his life. I mean, and he treated it with such a disciplined approach and an appreciation for, and he continued to grow in the complexity of his understanding of the game of football, specifically in the NCAA. And then if you talk to him and you said, oh well, sports are sensationalism, he might have something else to say about that. He might say, well, no, sports is, he's like a samurai. He's like, sports is the way for me. He's like, it's a code for me. Like, it's a way of life, a living, breathing thing. And I go, oh well, I've never really got into sports that much. I play some occasionally, and I watch them on TV occasionally. But that's like two different realms almost of people in one specific field, in a world that has unlimited different fields of things you can get into and learn about and grow in your complexity of your understanding of anything that you feel drawn to. I mean, the thing that you should watch out for, and this is a little, you want to keep this under your hat. You want to watch out for don't get confused into, well, just be caught, be observant about what you find interesting, what you value, what you enjoy in life. And so it's like, if time and effort always bring results eventually, you'd probably want to put your time and effort into things that you enjoy and want to see grow, or at least remain. Um, so, just be whatever. It's a cliche, be mindful, right? And the thing is, it's for every individual. I think it's different. The things that we enjoy, the things that we take interest in. We all build our own worlds, kind of within the world, within who knows. But that's what adds to a lot of the beauty in life is that now we get to know each other and learn about the things that we each other as individuals have found interest in. And so it's not like we're all just talking to a mirror. I mean, we meet new people with new things to teach us. We teach them, and right, it's all complexity in that sense. I am sitting on a riverbank right now, and there was an ant, um, and it was walking across the rocks towards one of my shoes. And as it approached my shoe, I lifted my shoe, and then it passed under it, and it gave me an interesting thought that sometimes reality can be like that. I don't know if you want to consider yourself an ant, but it's interesting that it would, from the ant's perspective, it sees this huge mass, which is the shoe, which is like 10,000 times the size of its body, but then it just keeps walking towards it for whatever reason, thinking it'll climb over or go around or something. But then, from the perspective of the human on the ant, it's like, oh, look it, he's going that way. I could just easily just lift my foot up and for the ant, mountains are moved. Mountains are moved just by this larger entity saying, oh, well, I could just lift my shoe up. And like, that's what reality is like sometimes. It's like you just keep moving towards something sometimes, and reality just lifts the shoe up that is blocking your path. It seems massive, but for the human, it's just, oh, it's easy. Oh, okay. And it's like it could come in the form of anything that is bottlenecking or causing limitations, like lack of certain resources or certain bureaucratic paperwork or something that has to go through. And it's like, interesting, huh? Sometimes reality is like that, like the foot that's blocking or whatever's limiting you is somehow just magically lifts. And I think part of the reason I'm recording this is because there wasn't a really good ending for the episode 2 with the voice notes. It just kind of cut off at a certain point. So I'll use this to go ahead and say I think this episode went well. If you listened, I appreciate it. Uh, Maybe it gave you a little bit more of an idea of where this film is coming from, what it's going for. And if you do decide to contribute, all the links will be down in the description, video description of YouTube. I'll leave those down there, and just know that it's greatly appreciated. And if you want to know, if you've got any questions about the film or the campaign, that you want to contribute, or you just have some more questions, feel free to message me or email me at this account. And yeah.